Ooh, that looks tasty. I'm hungry. Hungry for your doom!
Into battle!
Did you win?
Nah.
Me neither.
Me neither.
Then who won? Welcome folks, today the Hungry Gamer is back with another game review, and today we're talking about Hoplomachus Victorum from Chip Theory Games. If you are slightly confused by my just now doing this video, that's fair, because I've actually already put out a mini preview of the expansion for this game before I did this video. And the reason for that was, I just felt the need to play a lot of this, and well, it just took me a long time. And so here we are, and I do have to first say thank you to Chip Theory Games for sending me a copy of the game with these crazy metal dice that I adore, and also the sword that you saw at the beginning, which was just a lovely marketing thing that they did, which is very cool. So anyhow, with all of that being said, what this is this is a gladiator style game where you're taking on the role of one of these heroes, or super thick chips, from one of the regions down here. And through 3 acts, you're going to be moving around the board and either engaging in sporting matches, blood sport matches, or doing events which are going to kind of allow you to level up your character as you move through the game. And this is one of the kind of level up boards that you can get your hands on. The game comes with the paper ones that you can use as well. And also this is just kind of randomly set out there to give you an idea of what that looks like. But what's going to be happening is, as you're playing through 12 different days, so 12 different movements of your character token here around the board, and you're going to be battling different bosses in each of the different countries that you're in. Or in the game, you'll do 3 acts, so you'll wind up battling 3 of them, but 3 different ones as you're moving around. And each of the different ones has a different battle mat that it uses, and different troops that you might face with different abilities, and so on and so on. But what's important is, you're going to be doing a little bit of leveling up, and then you'll be doing tactical battles on the battle maps and chucking dice until you win or you lose. And it's also important to say that this is a solo-only game, though I have played it 2-player, just kind of cooperating with things, and that actually was quite enjoyable as well. With that said, if you are not interested in how this game is played and just want to jump into my final thoughts, then you want to go to the timestamp on the screen right now. For those of us still here, let's talk about how this game is played. Now also, to be clear, I am going to give you the highest level overview possible, because this is a very complex game that has a lot going on. Now, it is very complex at its core. It's actually decently simple, and so because of that, I feel like a broad overview will give you the rough idea of what's going on. So as I said, you'll be moving around this board, following the lines here, and as you move around, you're going to compete in some kind of battle. Now, if it is a green marker, then that means you're going to get one of these challenges here. And actually, with all of these, you get to draw more than one and pick the one you want, but I'll just show you one. And so what this is going to say is that this is a challenge that you're going to get to do. So triple the health of the first rival unit deployed in the bloodshed event while in the new Argonaut region, and win. If you do that, you're going to get this special unit that can join your force, join your army, whatever you want to call it. And it might be something that levels up your character, gives you a unit, gives you a tactic ability, which are things like this right here that certain units can have, and so on and so on. Or if you go to the blue spaces, you can do a sporting event. Now, the sporting events and the bloodshed events are very, very similar, except when you're doing the sporting events, there will be a different kind of win condition. So you might do a capture the flag game, or in some of them there's a chariot that's moving around and you're using that. And so, or perhaps it'll be a king of the hill, which will earn you points. So if the longer you hold this spot here, the more points you might get. And so on is kind of how that's going to work. However, what's important about the sporting events is your troops, if they are defeated, they're not dead. They're just knocked out. And also, depending on whoever it is that you're facing, you will actually be able to recruit one of their units into your force at the end of a sporting event, thus being one of the reasons to do that. The other kind of events, as I've already mentioned, are the bloodshed events, which are straight up fights. And what's going to happen is in either the sporting events or the bloodshed events, and actually the bloodshed events as a result are going to give you something that's going to upgrade your character. It'll give you new dice that you're able to use. It'll give you new tactics, whatever. Just it'll be some kind of upgrade for your character, and any units that are totally defeated in those events will be dead and will be out of the game. And so what you're going to have over here is it's going to tell you what type of units you're going to be facing. And it's going to be it'll be a combination of units kind of drawn out of the bag, which is seeded throughout the game. And you might get a kind of a random unit, and things will, as I said, things will be going into the bag, out of the bag as the game progresses, or it'll be based on what region you are in. And each of the regions is wonderfully color-coded, as you can see, here or here, and you can also see that the units are very different in each region if you just take a quick look at those as they're just kind of sitting there. And what you're seeing here is you're seeing the movement that they have, you are seeing what type of dice they use, what kind of special abilities they use, what kind of health they have, and so on. And so depending on what event you wind up doing, then that will determine which battle mat you're using. And of course, also the region you're in determines which battle mat you're in, but how it gets used will be determined by the event that you are playing. And as you can see, there are a whole bunch of different battle mats, and they all do different things, have different minor bits of rules that you might have to deal with as you are playing through those. But at its core, what's going to happen is, one at a time, units are going to go out onto the board. You'll see there's 3 spawn spaces for the enemy and 3 spawn spaces for you. Each round, however, another unit, and it'll be seeded over here based on what the card says. But as you go through each round, one unit will wind up going out onto the board, and its AI may activate. And on your turn, you will be able to dispatch one of your units onto the board. And there is usually a summoning sickness thing that happens, but overall, what's going to happen on your turn is you will deploy your unit. Then you'll, out of the series of tactics that you may have, you will take one of those if you want, and you can equip it to a unit, assuming it is allowed based on the type of unit that you have. And that's going to simply tell you that you now have that ability, and you can see they are pretty obvious when a unit has an ability like that. But you don't have to do that. Then you will use any movement that you have, and I'll just kind of put this guy out here, and I will just go 1, 2. I'll move 2 spaces to there. Then you'll have the opportunity to activate any of your abilities that you have. And there are a whole bunch of different abilities, and as you can see, they are all explained right here, but there are a bunch of them and how they activate and how they interact with each other, which is where some of the complexity of this game comes from. And then after that, you'll get to roll your dice. In this case, 1 red and 2 blue. Though, depending on how I leveled myself up, I may have increased my dice pool or given myself better dice or whatever. So we'll just say these are the dice that I have, and so I will roll them. And as you see, I have 2 misses and 2 hits. So I would have done 2 damage right there, and that's how that would work. And that's pretty much how the game's going to work. You can go back and forth. You have X amount of units that you're going to be able to put out based on the card, and you'll be battling until, if it's a sporting event, you've won the sporting event. It is also possible to win sporting events by knocking everybody out on the other team, but that's not usually really the most effective. Or in the bloodshed event, until you have won the fight, or until you have surrendered, which is always a possibility. I also neglected to say that it is possible, as you're playing through, to choose not to do any of the events and just heal up and get some other basic bonuses. I would also be remiss if I did not say that there is available right now, even though the expansion hasn't delivered, the Mercury's Boots version, which is the same basic game, just compressed. You're able to play through the game a lot faster, though it does take these cards here, these event cards, and it kind of changes how they're used a little bit. But I won't get into that. That's something that you can check out. And if you were to pick up this game, that's actually available right now as a free download. But that's pretty much how this game works. So what do I like about this game? First thing is, as I say in every chip theory game I talk about, the production, it's great. It's just fantastic production. And I will say, more compact than some of the others. This is an epic feeling game. And considering how epic it is, it's decently compact. It will fit on your table. You can, well, it's a solo game really, but you could have more than one person around the table and still play comfortably. And the box itself is a reasonable size considering what's in there. So that's fantastic. It's also, as most chip theory games are, pretty darn easy to organize. That's a lie. It is really easy to organize, especially with that big stadium thing, which lets you kind of save your game if you take a break or whatever. Really, really, really works well. As I already said, as I already mentioned, this game is epic. You are having what feels like a full-on epic months-long campaign in about 9 hours or something like that. 6 to 8 hours. 6 to 8 hours, somewhere in there. And it really does feel epic. It feels exciting. The RPG elements that it has of kind of building up your hero, of building up your army and getting skills, and it's great fun. It is really clever. It's really satisfying to do. Along with that, moving actually into more of the gameplay elements, the different factions and characters that you can play, they all feel quite different. They are all very clever. They are all interesting. And you can kind of start to plan out what you might need to do just based off of where you're going to be and kind of do some long-term planning as you're kind of building up your character. Really, really appreciate that. And of course, that goes along with kind of moving around the map, planning where you're going to go, how you're going to get there. All of that, I think, works really, really well. I like that there's 3 different types of events. You have the sporting event, which there might be some consequences, but it's not going to be terrible. The full-on battle where things are going to die. And then the other events where each one of those is different. I think that keeps it quite fresh as you're trying to figure out what it is that you're going to do, how you're going to do it. And then the gameplay itself, the actual battles or whatever, highly strategic. Just the way that you're moving around, having an understanding of how the AI is going to operate and trying to set up combos. And then, of course, you're chucking dice, which is always fun. It's just a very clean game. So what are my quibbles with the game? The first thing is it's long. I mean, you're going to play 3 games, as I said, that might be 9 hours of play. The fastest I've done it is, I think, in about 6 hours. Maybe I'm slow, I don't know, but it's not a fast game. Now, that said, as I talked about when I actually talked about the expansion before I talked about this months ago, there is the new Mercury's Boots variant that you can play with, which I think is fantastic. I should have put that in my pros section. Really, really great. However, to cut down on the time, you actually kind of lose the events option. They still are important, they still need to be dealt with, but it's just not in the same way. And so you might feel like, well, to get this done in the time that feels good, you're not getting the full experience. And I don't know that it doesn't feel like that it feels like a different experience, because if you go back and watch my other video, I highly praise the Mercury's Boots thing, and I still do. I think it's just amazing. But it does change the core gameplay a little bit, so that might not be for you. The next thing, obviously, this is just a solo game. I've actually played it co-op and actually had a blast. Original Don and I actually demoed this together at Origins last year. And it's a delight. But this is meant really for solo. And so this is a lot of game and a pretty big price tag for what is only really a solo game. And again, that's good nor bad, but just something that you need to keep in mind. And then the last thing I'm going to say is, it's not the easiest game to learn. And chip theory games have been slowly improving their rule books over time. And they're not the best rule books out there. Let's be clear. I love the people at Chip Theory Games. They're so nice. They're so wonderful. The way they treat their customers is just great. But the rule books aren't the easiest. And while this one, you can absolutely learn the game without doing too many checking the forums and stuff, this is not an easy game to learn. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of keywords, and it takes some time. So that means you might have to play a game before you fully understand it. And a lot of times people don't like doing that. You don't want to have to play a whole 2-hour game to feel like, okay, I know how to play now. Now I can decide if I like the game. And so, but that's it. So as you can tell, my quibbles here are pretty darn quibbly because I actually think this is a very, very good offering from Chip Theory Games. For me, I think I'm now sliding this in, now that I've spent a lot of time with it, at the number 2 in the Chip Theory Games catalog. It's not knocking too many bones off the pedestal for me. But I do think this one comes in above Burn Cycle, and both of them come in above Trip Lock. Poor Trip Lock. I still have Trip Lock. It's one of the earliest things I backed. I still enjoy it. I'm not getting rid of it, but on the bottom of the list there. But anyhow, there you have it, folks. That is Hoplomachus Victorum. I really think for the solo gamer, if you at all like the theme and you like dice chucking and you don't mind something that maybe is a little bit longer, then I think this is really a can't-miss game. It's just really, really a good game. So, there you have it, folks. So as always, if I made any mistakes in the rules overview, please let me know in the comments with the timestamp so I can get that into the Klingon subtitles. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.